And welcome into Talk Illini here, part of the Orange and Blue News, a part of the On Three Network. We appreciate you being here as we are covering the win that Illinois got over Maryland, 89-70 on Illinois' home court. Great win, great improvement for the team going into a much anticipated game against Purdue. Going to talk about that in a different video later on, but in this video, we are talking about Illinois' win over Maryland. It was a little difficult not having Kylan Boswell there. You had a little bit more intrigue maybe in the first half than maybe some Illinois fans would have liked to see, but in the second half, they begin to pull away. Huge game from Andrej Stojakovic. We'll get to Kylan Boswell here in a little bit. I think we need to give the guys who were there and performed really well their flowers first. So, of course, I have Sunny Verma here with me to talk about it. Sunny, what players impressed you the most in this game against Maryland?
The easy answer here, I think, is Andrej Stojakovic and his performance. You're talking about a guy, again, I'm not even focusing on the offensive part, where we know he scored 30 points, the first Illini since Terrence Shannon Jr. to score 30 on the court. But it's what he did on the defensive side against Coit. Coit scored 70-plus points in the last couple Big Ten games, and yet he went 5 for 15 yesterday. And if you really watch the game, and I'm halfway through my rewatch now, he put Coit in a blender. He made him uncomfortable. He really gave up. Even the 5 baskets that Coit made were very difficult shots that you just have to kind of tip your hat to. And if Stojakovic plays like this version of Stojakovic, for the next month or so while Kylan is gone, then all of a sudden one of the big questions that this basketball team has can be answered. And you're just grateful that this team is as deep as it is, because again, there's no scenario where you don't miss Kylan Boswell, but you do have options who can maybe step up. Stojakovic is the main one, but I really liked what I saw from Jake Davis too. Brad Underwood had a choice to make, right? Who's going to replace Kylan in the starting lineup? You heard a lot of Mihailo Petrovic talk. You heard Ben Humrickhouse talk. He decided to ultimately go with Jake Davis, and Davis rewarded Brad with a 12-point, 4 out of 6 from three-point land performance, 4 rebounds, crashing the rim, and Jake Davis was the focal point of a lot of things Brad was saying in the post-game press conference, talking about how Jake is a leader. He's the most vocal guy on this basketball team, and you can see that he really trusts the third-year player.
For sure. And I think going into this game, that was one of the things that I was looking for the most, was not necessarily how would the starters step up with Kylan Boswell out of there, because I think at this point we've gained that trust with the starters, Andre, Keaton Wagler, those guys for sure. It was, how are the bench players going to step up in this one? Who comes in to start for Kylan Boswell? Always kind of felt like it was going to be Jake Davis because of him starting earlier on in the season and how he could be able to play and fill in for a guy like that. And then Andre with his defense, you're right. It was changing of the game. Even though Coit did get 15 points in the game, it really did change things for Maryland to really put their offense in a bad situation multiple times in this game. But I'm with you. Jake Davis, Ben Humrickhouse even getting 2 threes in this one, 6 points. I know, he's kind of a, you and I have talked about him on here multiple times. He's a bit of a lightning rod a little bit, but he performed well in this one, and you're going to need him to continue to perform well while Kylan Boswell is out in this one. So we'll see how it continues to go. I was surprised we didn't see a little bit more of Mihailo Petrovic. Only 4 minutes. I felt like there was a chance we could see maybe 6-8 minutes from him, just to give the ball handling, duties a bit of a break and let him have that. But nope, Brad stuck to it. Only the 4 minutes. He kind of got what you normally got. He comes in, he misses 2 shots, he misses a 3, and he does have some spark to him, but he doesn't necessarily have the efficiency to him yet. Were you surprised that we didn't see more of Mihailo?
Kind of, sort of. For those viewers who watch me on Lockdown Illini, you guys know I'm a big Mihailo guy, and I really do think that Brad has done the team a disservice by not playing Mihailo or Brandon Lee more minutes earlier on in the season. But when Kylan went down, there was a lot of, finally we get to see Mihailo Petrovic play. But, being a Mihailo guy, I just started to really think a little deeper on all this. And right now, Illinois has the #1 most efficient offense in the country. And there's a reason for that. It's for the style of play, the game planning that this team does. when Mihailo's in the game, as much as skilled as I think he is, I think Mihailo Petrovic could start for half the teams in D1 college basketball. I genuinely do believe that. I just don't know if his style of play is exactly the type of fit for this Illinois team in order for it to continue the high efficiency numbers that they get. Was I surprised with 4 minutes? Yeah, 4 minutes was a little lower than I expected. But even with all Kylan being gone, I really think, and they kind of confirmed it yesterday, that they're going to run the offense through Keaton. Of course, that doesn't change. But you also can go back to last year where you ran a lot of that offense through Tomislav Ivisic and David Mirkovic playing off the high post. And that's kind of what they did against Maryland, because those two are such great passers. In particular, Mirkovic, he's just so difficult to guard, and he's got excellent vision that it's hard for opposing defenses to guard him, essentially, to play that sort of defense. Because, again, you have Keaton, you have David, and then if those guys can't make a play for you, you can hand it over to Andrej Stojakovic, who shows you more and more that if he puts his head down and he commits to getting to the rim, he's as good of a player as we've had at doing that since Terrence Shannon Jr. Last year. So, would I have liked to see more Mihailo? Sure, but really not to the point where I think other people want to see him for 15, 20 minutes. I would still probably like to look, when Keaton needs a breather, we need somebody who can dribble the ball up the court, right? Big Ten is full of really good basketball coaches, and they're going to realize that, hey, if Keaton's not on the floor, if he's got foul trouble or something, we're going to press. Well, Mihailo's kind of a cheat code against that press. So you do want him to be ready. You want him to be warm. You don't want his confidence to be like, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get pulled. But in the big picture of what this Illinois team can be, I actually have kind of switched over to the side where I understand why Mihailo doesn't get the minutes that he does.
The Minnesota game really showed me kind of the exact role that we need from Mihailo on this team, which is the guy that comes in when you need more of a spark on the defensive end. You put the defensive lineup in there and you give him a playmaker like Mihailo Petrovic, who's able to come in, distribute the ball, and get out and run. I mean, he is somebody that in transition, he can make some things happen by himself. He does pass up a layup or two, a little too often than I think he should, but overall he does get to the basket. He does kick the ball out. And if you have some guys like Jake Davis and Ben Hummerkaus who can play good defense, and then also if they're hitting their shots that day, that's going to be really important for this Illinois team. And I thought it was the right idea from Brad against that Minnesota game. In this game, you saw him come in about midway through the first half. He misses a layup. Couple minutes after being in the game, I think it was. And I don't know if Mihailo is the one-for-one substitution that you need for Kylan Boswell. It really feels like with Kylan Boswell out, that defense transitions to a guy like Andrej Stojakovic, like we talked about, or to a Keaton Wagler, and then you bring in a guy like a Jake Davis, like a Ben Hummerkaus, who have that defense as well, but they're maybe not the ball handler, playmaker of a Kylan Boswell, but you don't necessarily need that because of the emergence of Andrej Stojakovic and what he can do, like you said, putting his head down, getting to the basket. And I do think that this is going to challenge Andre more for this stretch. Obviously, it's a big challenge going up against Purdue next, but I do think this is going to challenge him to be more of a playmaker than we've seen. As much as I do love Kylan, and I think Kylan is an awesome player, and I want Kylan on this team and on the floor as much as possible, he does have a tendency to kind of put up shots sometimes that maybe you still have some time left in the shot clock and do some of that stuff. And I think Andre is the guy that's going to be more willing to put his head down, get to the basket, and do that kind of stuff, which to me is more high percentage than a catch and shoot three with 10 minutes left in the shot clock when you still had a little bit of time to work on some stuff. Now, I understand you can't really complain about the offense. This is the number one offense in the nation, right? According to Ken Palm, anywhere else you look. But I do think the defensive end is where we're going to see the most need for this kind of stuff. And to me, overall, Illinois answered that in this one. Maybe not as much in the first half. There was a little bit more scoring there from the first half from Maryland, but they're also getting used to things. They're working together a little bit more on this. I think by the end of it, yes, Maryland scored 70 points, but with how fast this game was going, it didn't feel like Maryland was exploding on offense or anything like that.
This might be a controversial take, but hear me out, right? Like with Kylan gone and being replaced by Jake Davis, there's a scenario there, and a pretty serious scenario where Illinois' offense gets better. If you work the offense through Keaton and through David, you take another non-shooter off the court. You place him with Jake Davis, who basically is a connector, right? He gets the ball. If he's wide open, he shoots. If he doesn't, he makes a quick pass, and the ball keeps moving around in this Illini offense, which is what it's designed to do, give you wide open three-point shots or very easy layups. Kylan doesn't necessarily fit that role as much as a guy like Jake Davis does. So again, I think you more so have to make up for the absence of Kylan on the defensive side. And over there, Mihailo he's not going to help you out. He's gotten better. I did rewatch some of this game yesterday and the previous game against Minnesota. He's getting better about running off of screens and running through screens. But he also, when he missed his shot in that first half, he kind of jogged back and his player came back and scored a three-pointer on the other end. And that's just something that's just not going to fly with Brad. So I think that's my big picture. Look, I'm a Mihailo guy, but I'm an Illini guy first and foremost. And I want Illinois to play the best that they're capable of playing. Offensively, I don't know if this team takes as much of a hit as a lot of people are saying, except for maybe the ball handling duties. You wish you had another guy besides Keaton to handle the ball. But scoring-wise, I don't think our efficiency rating is going to go down very much with Kylan gone. In fact, it might actually go up with more Jake Davis minutes, or if Ben Hammerkaus finally starts making his three-point shots. It's the defense that I'm concerned with first and foremost. And I think Brad Underwood said, Andrej Stojakovic, he was always the 1B defender. Now he's got to go jump up to becoming the 1A defender. So do we collectively have a guy who can jump up to be the 1B defender, or do we make up for it with just a total team defensive effort?
Well, and I think that's what the pressure is on right now, right? I think there was a lot of reliance on Kylan Boswell to be that guy that could take, the one player for the other team. When you play Purdue, you're saying, okay, Kylan's got Braden Smith. Let's all just lock in on our other guys and do that. Now, yes, you're going to have to lock in on Braden Smith. Don't get it twisted, but you also are going to have to play some really good team defense. And in that Minnesota game, that was one of the struggles that we saw. Not as much in this Maryland game. I think they corrected that toward as the game went on, but you really saw that correction needed in the Minnesota game because of how they were able, they're smaller, they were able to get by the larger defenders for Illinois, and the height and everything else that they have does make some of their guys a little bit slower. Tommy is not the best perimeter defender, although he's better than some other guys his size. Don't get me wrong. He, putting him out there on some of those smaller Minnesota guys was difficult. And then he would sometimes need help down low, and that's how they were able to kick it out. Overall, in this one, I think Keaton is continuing to get better on defense, especially for a young player that he is. And we're going to continue to see this development and things work together. If this had happened at the beginning of the season when the defense hadn't played together as much, I'd be much, much more concerned. But after seeing the development of some of these guys on the defensive end, especially Andrej Stojakovic, and seeing the defense play together and get used to playing together more, and trusting Jake Davis with some good defense and being fundamentally sound with him, I'm not concerned about the defense, but I am looking at this game with Purdue and saying, prove it with the defense, because to me, you don't prove it with the defense against Maryland. It's a good warm-up, but you really prove it in the next game.
Before we jump to the Purdue game, I did want to address this comment by randomness. By the way, we appreciate all comments, so please, if you're watching this live with us, please let us know what you think. He says, I disagree that Jake Davis is more of an offensive threat. Kylan can drive the ball and get layups and also get to the free throw line. He also hits threes. Kylan has a much better chance to score 24. I want to be clear. I'm not saying Jake Davis is the same player as Kylan Boswell. Not at all. Kylan is in a complete different league than Jake when it comes to their offensive skill set. I guess maybe I didn't word it properly. What I meant to say is the way this Illini team plays offense and their sets and the way they game plan, Jake Davis, there's a reason. If you take a look at all the analytics, Jake Davis is involved in our best three-man lineups, I think in 3 of our top 5 lineups. And I think Kylan's only in 1 of them. It's because of the pass, the 5-out. Jake Davis can, if he gets a wide open three-point shot, he just simply takes it. Kylan, as JR mentions, is a little more vulnerable to taking shots that don't necessarily fit the system as much. He might hurry a three-point shot, or he may take a shot with time left on the shot clock. You're exactly right in the sense where clearly Kylan Boswell is a better player than Jake Davis. What I'm saying is something to monitor. If a lot of Illini fans are scared that the offense is not going to be as good with Kylan gone, I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case, because with Kylan gone, I'm not saying you get more Jake Davis, although you marginally do, but I think you could get more Keaton Wagler. You can get more David Mirkovic, and you can get more Tomislav Visic. I hope I cleared that up. Randomness. If I didn't, please let me know, and I can try to do a little bit better.
Well, I think for me, the way I understood you were saying it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you watch an NBA All-Star game, it's filled with playmakers on the court, right? And it's almost like get the guy the ball and let him work. When you have a guy like Jake Davis in there, instead of a Kylan Boswell, that does present more of an opportunity for some more passing, some more working together in those different areas. You look at even the KenPom numbers, and Kylan Boswell, Keaton Wagler, and Andrej Stojakovic, they're all at the top of contributors, guys who handle the ball the most and are the biggest contributors on the offensive end. When you have three guys in your starting lineup like that, it can be really difficult to feed all of them and to really play some team offense. And again, it sounds like I'm critiquing Illinois here. They're obviously fine on the offensive end, but I think what you're trying to say is it does provide a difference to the offense that maybe we haven't seen as much with Jake Davis not playing as much, but now with him being in there more, I think we might see some more ball movement. I think we might see some more, not just put the shot up if you get it, because a guy like Kylan Boswell, he has the confidence to do that because he is such an outstanding player. Jake Davis, not to say he's not an outstanding player, but he is more the type of guy that's going to be like, all right, let me find my other guy, get the ball to him, and that just produces more ball movement.
Yeah, I just think, and we can revisit this conversation, after the next 4 or 5 games or while Kylan's gone. I just don't know if the offense is going to take as much of a hit as some fans are saying or fearing. I think it's the defensive side that I'm really, really worried about. And of course, that's going to start with the matchup that we have Saturday at Mackey Arena.
Exactly. Well, we will put out a preview for that game. Sunny and I are going to record that here soon, and then we'll get that out to you guys. But for now, this was the recap of the Maryland-Illinois basketball game. Like I said, Illinois gets the win 89-70. Good win and a good confidence booster going into the game against Purdue. We'll see how that one goes. But Sunny, do you have any final thoughts on the game before we get out of here?
No, don't get too confident. Maryland is not very good. So at that point, it's one of those. I don't think we learned anything about what this team is going to look like post Kylan, but I think that could have been by design. Brett Underwood put some weird lineups out there. I know Zavadimir got into foul trouble, but we saw Jason Jackson signing. It is what it is. I think Saturday is going to be a huge matchup. I can't wait to talk about it. There's a big size advantage on the Illinois side, but with Kylan gone, I have no idea who's going to guard Braden Smith. But, again, just it's going to be a great game, and make sure you catch our preview.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time on Talk Illini, part of the Orange and Blue News of the On3 Network. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff for you. We'll see you later.